So when I first got the HiBreak Pro out of the box, I did a live stream to tell you all about it. I was pretty excited about it and I had a lot of opinions of how good it could be. So I thought that what I would do is, now that I've lived with the HiBreak Pro for a good few weeks now, I thought I would do a bit of an expectations versus reality, and tell you what my experience has actually been daily driving the HiBreak Pro. The HiBreak Pro, so not to be confused with the original HiBreak, which didn't have, as you just saw there, unlocking with fingerprint sensor or unlocking with a face detect as well, which this one does. And both of those things seem to be working pretty well. Yep, fingerprint works really quite well. It's really well situated for your thumb. I've enrolled the thumb twice, so that means it's really reliable, but also this finger around on this side, and it pretty much works every time, first time. It does also have raise to wake, so if it's on the table, you can raise it up and then it should do a face unlock. Yeah, so that's a definite tick. It certainly works. The thing about the raise to wake though, is that you often see it's kind of lights coming on when it's in a bag or when it's just moving around, because it kind of expects that you're picking it up. But nothing to complain about there really, and I've found that I can really quickly unlock it and I'm straight back into my book, which is exactly what I wanted. But you will find a link in the description which you can check out for the HiBreak Pro and see what the price is in your region and whether the feature set really suits you. One thing about Bigme at the minute is they actually have one of the most intriguing ecosystems, I would say. I can tell you that having this out of the box just for a little while, it's got a crisp screen. We weren't expecting anything different. 300 ppi black and white. I do think there is quite a large gap between the top of the screen and the actual screen itself, the very top surface on the screen, and you can probably see it picking up quite a bit of glare there. Now that is, I think probably that little bit of extra gap does make it a little bit less crisp, especially considering we haven't got a pen layer on there. It would be nicer to have that gap a little bit smaller to the actual e-ink. That seems to be the case currently with these e-ink screens at this size. That hasn't been an issue at all. I guess kind of I'm coming from devices that don't have front lights, and so I'm kind of used to that really tiny gap at the minute, but I can tell you that it does look really, really good and it always looks crisp, and I'm never sort of thinking, oh, there's a gap there. That's not annoying at all. Mine didn't come with a screen protector on it though. I know that some have, and that might just be a region thing. I added one, but the screen protector I got wasn't very good, so I have since taken it off. But the screen hasn't been damaged by being in my pocket at all. The case, however, has got a few marks on it. I don't know if you can just see that there. And it's not looking at its best already. Although I really like the white color, I think that maybe black is a better color for not showing up marks in the longer run. But generally, yeah, screen looks great. Of course, we've got zero blue light, we've got flicker free. It's got dual color front lights now, which is great. And I will intermittently, I'll kind of compare it in to the first HiBreak here, because of course the first HiBreak only had one color front light. It really was a bit of old technology. It only had the blue front light, and I think you can just see it's so much more comfortable to have that balanced white there. I certainly find that more comfortable. Those dual color front lights are absolutely essential in a modern reader and an e-ink smartphone. One thing I would say is that I'm just leaving them on the very low settings, because the only time I really need the front light on at all is when it's totally dark, so I'm reading at night or whatever. So I'm reading them very low. It's not taking battery life therefore. And yeah, if I need the front light because it is dark, then there's that little bit of light there. But certainly any device for reading without the bicolor lights, I'm pretty much uninterested right now. I will say that I like the auto lights at first, but you can see it really defaults to when it's dark to be really, really bright, and that's just too much. And I think that it changes really quickly, which again, that's a good thing, but it changes sometimes too quickly and actually sort of seems to sort of flicker sometimes. When the light conditions change subtly, it just sort of changes too quickly. So I wish there was some way to customize how the automatic lights were actually working. I'd have them set on being a very dim sort of maximum brightness that it would ever get to, and then it would just turn off essentially when it's bright enough. That's all I really need from that. And I'm just getting used to it. And I really wanted the original HiBreak to work as my one and done, you know. I really wanted it to be and I did use it, I committed to using it for a period of time. And you might think color was the thing that I would have liked. And color was helpful in some places, but no, I think generally the slower performance was actually worse than the color really. The performance is a lot better. You can see it just slightly lagging behind. The old HiBreak is lagging behind the new. You can see, you know, that speed is a bit more like what you're used to rather than it being quite slow. I mean, I did enjoy reading comics on it, I'm not going to lie at all. I did like having the color, but it was the old color. It was the old Kaleido, it wasn't the new one. This is purely black and white. I think that they will bring a color one later. I'm hopeful anyway, but for now we've got the black and white screen, and it's really good for that purpose. So I haven't been able to entirely replace my OLED phone, but this is really just more like a tablet that I can carry around if I wish. So I often just have this in my pocket if I'm doing things like email on here or YouTube on here, then that's just a nice tablet to have. But there are times now when I'm leaving the house without that, and I know that I have enough smartphone in my pocket just in this Bigme HiBreak Pro. So I'm delighted personally with it. The performance is so much better that it can actually do that job as your smartphone. I think that they will be along with the color one, and I hope that they can get a better panel than this original color on here, because this was the Kaleido Plus or whatever it was. Very low resolution in color, just sub 100 pixels per inch in color. It's not really good enough, but I would go right now for the black and white one. It's a great price, it's a great screen, and it just works for what it's built to be. It does have good internals. It does have a Dimensity 1080 is what it is billed as, which is a good chip, I think. It's 8 core, 2 of which are 2.6 megahertz, compared to, this is a 8 core, but the 2.3 megahertz is the most rapid speed there. The biggest difference is probably in the RAM, which is 8 gigabytes of RAM across here, plays just 6 across there. And it does make a difference, actually. I really am noticing a difference straight away between the two devices. And when I looked at the chips, now this one has a, you know, at least double the performance in Geekbench type of scores compared with the original HiBreak. So there's definitely, and you know, it does make it, I think right now, the most powerful e-ink smartphone. And I think, yes, we want this kind of romantic idea of a minimal phone, but also there's so many things that we want our phones to do. So many things we expect, like fingerprint unlock for security, like, yeah, absolutely Newsstream, the 256 gigabytes of storage compared to, I think, 128 across here. You know, there's lots of reasons why we like that. The NFC is going to be useful for paying for things, and just generally there's a lot of times when, you know, that's needed for pairing to things as well. There's lots of reasons why I think it's really good. It is currently going to be the higher performance of all. Yep, it's a good performer. That chipset seems to manage just fine for all the tasks that I want to do on it. I haven't actually used the NFC, I think, for anything yet. I have put Google Wallet on it, but I'm not in the habit of paying for things on my phone. I'm old-fashioned like that. I still carry around a credit card, believe it or not. But it's nice to know that's there should you wish to use it in that way. And importantly, whatever graphics processor they've got in that MediaTek 1080 chip is good enough for driving the e-ink screen and making it clear out, making it crisp and clear, making it refresh quickly. So it's all the things you need from an e-ink phone there. It's actually got a pretty good battery. So far, I haven't had it for that long, but currently today it's been used a little bit today, and it's only gone down 6% from this morning. So it's quite good. Haven't done much with it, not gonna lie, so I've been sat at the computer working all day, so I haven't done much on my phone at all, but its standby performance seems to be doing just fine, and it's just woken straight back up as well. So it should be okay. So we should be at least days. It's going to be able to be used as a phone more reliably than the previous one there. Battery is good, standby is really good. It generally, I'm getting about 3 days out of it, and I'm generally just using apps like reading apps and things like that, rather than the more power hungry ones. When you use more power hungry apps, you are going to see it sap the battery a bit quicker. So your mileage is going to vary on that one. I'm really interested by the minimal phone market, and I've got the minimal phone itself, the e-ink thing with the QWERTY keys, that should be coming soon. So that'll be an interesting comparison later as well. It's also dual SIM, 4G and 5G. Okay, so it's got 5G connection, whereas I think we've only got 4G across here on the original HiBreak. And it says 5G in the corner there, I think. Yep, I've got 5G currently on it. So that's a useful thing, it really is, to have that speed of downloading new apps, or you know, you just never know when you're going to need to download something quickly. Yep, I have actually got that one with me here, and sure, it does work, but I can tell you right away that the HiBreak Pro is better. There's a distance to travel in terms of the software on the minimal phone, I think, and the e-ink screen is better on the HiBreak Pro. Sure, both of them you can download apps and you can do all the smartphone things compared to the actual minimal phones of the world, like the Medita Compact, which again, I'll have a review on that coming soon as well. But you right now have better e-ink specific apps on the HiBreak, and it runs the Google Play Store apps that are not designed for e-ink better than on the minimal phone. So if you're going for an e-ink phone right now and you need Google Play Store apps, then the HiBreak Pro is the recommendation. I'm really liking that about it. So the NFC, it's even got an IR blaster, although I don't think I'd ever use that. I don't think, the only time I'd ever used IR blasters was way back in the day when it was used for transferring data. No, I don't really know why that's there. I think it was probably just something that could have been on the hardware, so they kind of left it in there. I don't think that's an intentional choice. I don't see many uses. I guess you could change your TV if you desperately wanted to do that, but it's not a reason to buy this phone. The fingerprint sensor is fast, and I like all the buttons. So you've got the volume buttons, which default to volume as you'd expect, but they also work as page up and down in Kindle, which is good. And then you've also got on the other side, you've also got these buttons, these two buttons here. I'll take it out of the case to show you because I think they look quite good as well. And incidentally, the silicone case there is not too intrusive, that the buttons work just fine when it's in the case as well. I've got the top one, I think is on home, isn't it? No, the top one's to multitasking switcher. Top one, and you've got hold down is home, yeah. This is what I've set them to. You can set them to lots of different things. Double tap, I've set it to do something, is back. I think I've got home, back, and multitasking switcher at the top there. I've got one tap to go into this nice recording mode. So this is a voice note recording, which it's doing right now. And let's see how accurate that is. I find it not all that accurate, to be honest. So it's not going to replace Otter. We'll see. So I'm going to stop that now. That's the Bigme voice to text app. So it's gone into there. I've got that. It's not done too badly, actually. But I can also do an AI summary and an AI tidy down here directly within the Bigme voice to text app, which is quite useful, and it'll just polish that. It'll process that. I don't know whether I think it just does the text rather than actually send out the audio file. If it actually sent up the audio file to ChatGPT, that would be quite good. I'm not sure exactly how that's working there, but that's quite a useful thing to have from one press. Double tap that, also took a screenshot, and then long press that side as well. What's it done? Put it to sleep or turn the front light off, is it? Yeah, turn the front light off. Okay, so that's quite cool. So long press that to bring the front light on and off is quite a useful thing as well. I say I set them up last night and kind of forgotten what I've set them to, but useful, I think. Some really useful things. The buttons are good, they're really positive. You don't accidentally press the up arrow, for instance, when you're trying to press the down one. I have it set up with slightly different things as I've gotten used to it, what I want from the quick access panel, but you can customize that, which is a really cool thing as well. And I don't really use the voice recorder to text, because I use Otter, which does that same job for me. And I find that to be a better, more integrated program across all my devices. So I've installed that on there, and that works really cool as well. But it is quite good that they've actually got a voice to text notes with AI transcription and AI polish actually built in there for you for free with the phone. It's got GPS, it's got Bluetooth, you know, it's got a gyroscope for automatic rotation. I think it's quite good, really. GPS works just fine. I mean, maps don't look that great in black and white, but it's certainly usable if you need to. It's not like on some phones where you've just got directions rather than an actual way to navigate yourself. It's a shame though. We'll talk about Android Auto in a second. It's also Android 14. I want to talk about, what do you think Bigme, and this is my question to you everyone, what do you think Bigme need to do to become the best e-ink company that's out there? And one of the things it might be actually keeping with the latest Android all the time. So it's Android 14 on here. And what if all of their things, you know, that they've got it sorted so that Google Play is installed straight away. You log straight in and it was like, oh, here are your 20 most used apps from your other devices. Do you want to install them? I was like, oh yeah, yes please, I would like that. And there they were, all downloaded. So that was useful. YouTube Studio is just there as well. Let's play a bit of YouTube. I think if they keep the latest Android at all times, I'll put one of my videos on your channel, and I think if they were to try their best to make sure that they were always... Okay, welcome to the show really. This is the sound. Pause that just briefly. If they were to make sure that they're always on the latest Android and that they always have the best screen performance, I think that could be what Bigme's sort of little niche in the market is really. Now let's see what e-ink center we're in. Let's go to video mode. Actually, it's pretty impressive really. It's pretty good. The ultra fast mode here. It's generally surprisingly good. I don't think that video is something I'll be watching a lot, but I think, you know, with Dasung doing the kind of godlike refresh rates, I think Bigme could be that, but for phones and tablets, really. And I think Bigme, if they keep going, how would you, the reality is with their use of the e-ink, if they really make sure they stay ahead of the game and show e-ink as good as it can possibly be, I think that actually that's where they fit in with the market. I just want to play a little bit just so you can hear a little bit of the sound. I've seen it mentioned in other reviews as an iPad-like. It is not. It is still a nice screen to write on. Way back when I was covering the first Tab Ultra C Pro, I was so excited about that. I still use that, incidentally, Tab Ultra C Pro books, but we're not talking about books today, anyway. Now, Android 14 isn't even the latest Android at this point, and I doubt that we'll get this upgraded to a different version of Android itself, but you will get updates on the phone itself. However, this is one big issue. I've been trying to update this phone by the over-the-air update that it keeps telling me that it wants to do, but it's failed each time to do that. So I don't know why that is. I imagine eventually that will work, but let me know if you're having a similar problem with your HiBreak Pro. I probably need to get in contact with their customer support to get that sorted. And no, I haven't been watching any YouTube on it, but let's say, I don't know, you wanted to listen to a YouTube video. A lot of the YouTube I watch is really just a podcast, and I'm just sort of listening in as it plays in the background. These speakers would be good enough to give you a good enough experience of just listening to it sat on the side while you do another task, for instance. So there's still that, and I've found that should I need to go into an app where it's got dynamic content, like video content, I just need a bit of information potentially, I need to click through a few things, that it's fast enough for doing that. So showing the video shows you that actually this e-ink screen is fast enough to handle those dynamic apps. Yeah, I think it's sort of an interesting device. You've got a front camera and you've got a back camera, 20 megapixel, and you do need a camera of some sort on a phone because you need to scan QR codes and things. And I haven't taken many photos of that, but I will try that thing out as well. Hardly use the camera, of course, at all because, well, I use a real camera. I don't use a camera that much on any phone, really. Although it's nice just to know that it is there. Now, in the actual built-in camera app, it doesn't seem to want to scan any QR code. So that is annoying, but you just download any other QR scanning app and you're away, really. And should you need to do a video call, you've got a front-facing camera, so you can actually do that. And if you just really needed to take a bit of video or a photo, you can actually do that. And for things like just sharing a photo of what you're up to on WhatsApp quickly, then that's there, of course. And phone calls work just fine on both speakerphone and using the earpiece, so that's all good. And actually, because of that speed, you know, you can see this ultra fast stuff that it's got. And if I go into custom, they do quite well. You've got the anti-shake to stop it doing the flickering thing. At refresh mode, you've got this extreme refresh mode, and it's actually pretty good for getting around and browsing. I do find it pretty good. I'm getting to know it at this point. I've not spent enough time to give you my final thoughts, but actually that's good scrolling performance. That is good scrolling action there. Yeah, there's lots to like here. So I'm looking forward to and hoping that it's going to be a great device for me. And I hope it's going to do what I wanted it to do, which was to make it such that I pull out my phone habitually and read rather than pull out my phone habitually and watch something or check a feed of some sort or do these things. Bigme have worked really hard to make their e-ink center and their control of the e-ink screen just as good as the Boox Palma 2, for instance. And that's kind of the gold standard, certainly in this form factor, for actually running crisp and clear e-ink. The auto clean with the BSR, the Boox Super Refresh technology, has been the market leader. I'm pleased to say the Bigme are pretty much there with theirs. They call it auto clean and it works just the same, really. It works really well on this unit. I find it fabulous the way it cleans out the e-ink, so yeah. So let me know if you'd like an in-depth comparison between the Boox Palma 2 and the Bigme HiBreak Pro, beyond it's just, well, one's a phone and one's not, so why wouldn't you go for the one that has that mobile functionality? Fire in the comments any questions that you need to know for that comparison. And the ghosting, as you can see, is pretty minimal there. It's, you know, that auto clean is working well now on Bigme. They've really done quite well there. Let's go back into Chrome and see that again. You can just see I'm on extreme mode, and the thing is looking pretty darn clean. This is very modern e-ink and looking really, really good. And yeah, I'm impressed. So we will see. Extreme mode is the fastest mode, and I can use that for most apps really, because you don't take that much of a drop in contrast with the extreme mode on here as you do, for instance, on A2 mode on another device. And sure, the performance is fast enough. I mean, it's not going to perform like this Samsung device where I can actually edit videos on here, for instance. I'm sure you could edit some basic videos on there, but I don't think it's going to be getting up to the 4K standards of that phone, for instance. That would be a painful experience on an e-ink screen though, so that's not why you're buying this phone. It does feel more responsive than other e-ink phones. It feels more responsive than a previous generation, really, and that's quite nice. Whereas the previous HiBreak did feel less responsive than a normal phone. As I say, if it works with that Android Auto, which it should, it doesn't for me, and that's frustrating. I think that might be something to do with this phone and my car, but you can drop the DPI settings and it should work with Android Auto. I've seen other reviewers have managed to make it work. So perhaps that's just me and my car rather than an issue with the actual HiBreak Pro. There have been some issues with scaling apps up to screens that I've seen in other videos. So your mileage is going to vary on Android Auto, I think. It's there, but it's not perfect. Then I think it can actually be a daily driver, unlike earlier e-ink phones that were just that bit too slow, really. So that's the big question. Can it be my daily driver? And I find that yes, it is living in my pocket as my primary phone at the moment, but I'm not able to do without this device. This device could be replaced though with a small tablet, for instance, a small Android tablet. It's my main phone number. It's all my authenticator apps are already set up on this device. So it's very difficult for me just to sort of leave this device alone. But this is sort of my portable tablet really. And I use this in the car, I leave it in the car, and I use it for Android Auto at the minute, and I use it around the house as a tablet at times, but mostly I'm leaving that in a different room. And I'm just carrying around the reader so that when I get that sort of urge to check my phone, I check my phone and it automatically opens to the next canto in Dante and I just carry on reading, for instance. So that's the aim. And yes, it is doing that at this time. And then I'm connected to the messaging app that I want to use, and I'm connected to the people that I want to speak to. And then, yeah, when I'm out and about, I have something in my pocket that isn't trying to be an attention hog, but can still do those things that I want to do. For instance, at school, I was a little bit worried that I wasn't going to be able to use all the ChatGPT stuff that I do whilst I'm teaching. You know, I use it to quickly process results in the lab, but I just did it all on here. The camera took photos of the kids' results, asked it to crunch the numbers and plot the graph, and then I was able to display that in the browser on my computer on the screen, all from the e-ink phone. So very few compromises really in terms of the way that I daily want to use my phone. And by just thinking carefully about what you're actually installing on the phone, you can make it your minimalist phone. You can make it a minimalist phone that suits your needs. And I think that that is the point, really. A lot of people say that you're just less likely to get sucked into those algorithmic feeds where videos are playing like one after the other because it's an e-ink screen. But the point is I haven't installed those apps here on the phone. So I'm not getting notifications from them. I'm not getting sucked into those things whilst I'm out and about living my life. And that's a nice thing. I really do like this a lot. You've got all those things that I think you might need. I like the customization. I'm talking about the physical buttons. The physical buttons themselves, they are more satisfying than the previous ones. They're more substantial than the previous models' buttons. They're sort of split rather than being total rockers. You know, you just had one over this side. And there's nothing wrong with that. That was a great price point, the original HiBreak. But this is a better thing just here. And that's a good 70% of my time with this phone. It's really comfortable to hold in one hand, just to have your thumb on the down arrow, reading the book that you've chosen to read, the thing that you've intentionally decided to do. And you can get really into that with much less of a temptation to go off and search for things, to cycle through your algorithmic feeds, all of those bits and bobs. Yeah, this right now, this is the recipe for a true minimalist phone. Cool, it's got raise to wake. I think Bigme, they could carve out a little spot here. And especially just thinking more about what Bigme could do to be number one, I've slated this device. This is the 1051C, but I noticed they've also got a Pro version of this now as well, which could be an interesting proposition. But the reason why I slated this was because, well, its pen input was so bad, and I keep hoping that in software updates that pen input is going to be better, but I don't think it is. I keep checking it, and it just had an update today. Whoa, look at that. That's because it's in its case, but even taking it out of its case, there's a magnet under there. Look, it's just total garbage. Sorry, didn't quite see that, but you can just see that there, look, because that's a magnet for the actual case that's there. But this is fast. You know, this really, when you actually flip this up and start typing away in Google Docs, for instance, this makes a lot of sense now because it's fast e-ink and the auto clean is really good. So, you know, it's a fascinating point where they're at. And I think if they can actually get they wanted to make this incredibly thin, and it is sort of as thin as the Boox Note Air series, and still be as sort of versatile as the Boox Tab Ultra C Pro with the keyboard case. And you know, look at that mouse is fast on there. So as an e-ink laptop, it's actually really pretty good, but it's not the tablet. For some reason I can't click that one. There we go, got there in the end. I just think mouse on Android, it's not quite there yet, is it? But typing's good on here. It's got a row of function keys, dedicated function keys. So, you know, there's lots to like there in the e-ink world. And actually, if that works well and links to your Bigme e-ink phone, could you actually see that as being something that could put them on top in the whole world of e-ink devices? I don't know, but you know, what does it need to do? What does it need to do to be the best one, the best e-ink company that's out there? Yeah, Newsstream says it's viewable. Yeah, I wish Google would make an e-ink friendly high contrast skin for Android, basically. Yeah, that would be a useful thing for these type of devices, wouldn't it? I see Bigme make very affordable devices. The B1051C, one having a few small flaws. Yeah, it was good value for money, absolutely. Can't decide between the Note F4C and the Tab Ultra C Pro. It is a difficult choice, but I have got that comparison somewhere. I'm going to focus on Bigme for this moment. Yes, I do feel lost at times. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, what I do is I just live with one at a time, really. At the minute, I'm still living with the Manta because nothing of that size has come out recently that I need to replace it with. Google and Amazon are somewhat similar. They're not interested in niche markets. Yes, that's why they're not interested in doing e-ink tablets. It's pretty light, actually. This one is heavier. This newer one is heavier than the previous one. I don't know if that's true, actually. They're both about the same. It is quite light. It's 170 grams for the HiBreak and 180 grams for the HiBreak Pro, so pretty similar, really. Generally, that's a light smartphone that's really comfortable to hold and read on, which is what you need. I think probably a little bit lighter than a lot of smartphones, but it's not like drastically light, no. Most devices I don't see getting any coverage. It's the Bigme 1051 black and white version, not the 1051C using Kaleido. Yeah, that's really good to hear that. Does the pen work okay for you? Is the pen input any better? I'm just wondering sometimes if I'm getting the worst. For some reason, maybe I've got a device that's got faulty pen input. Does the pen work okay on your 1051C, I wonder? And solar powered e-ink device would be a very useful thing. So some thoughts I had, what could they do? They make their software better for all different localizations. So there's still sometimes, in fact, when you do languages at the start, it's always Chinese and. There are still occasionally fewer and fewer as it goes forward. But there's still occasionally times when there's Chinese, or even it's just like something which is like a bit lost in translation, like it's like designate or something rather than okay. So it's a few things like that. I think their focus on their build quality and the folio case and things, they are getting better at that, but they're not quite there. If they really become an innovator with color e-ink technology, it could be interesting. I think that Kaleido Free's been really popular, but I think that they had that issue with gallery free, and they went early on the gallery free thing and they didn't do it well. So I think stick in that kind of safety to make sure they're not right at the cutting edge making mistakes. If they're at the cutting edge, make sure that they can do it well. And here they've spotted this gap in the market, this gap left by the Hisense phones, and they've jumped on it. And I think that this is going to be quite a good seller. And I think rightly so, really. I think if they think about what's strong for Bigme, it's open software with lots of features. It can support things like Microsoft 365, you know, like that would work well on there. You saw me just opening up Word on there. That could be a good thing for them to, you know, to allow you to tailor it to your own use case, really. They could probably add something like the work mode, like badged apps. I don't think you can do that yet on Bigme. That would be really useful. They need to double down on these things. You know, they've got good stylus input generally. That was the thing. I think I would have really sort of recommended this over a lot of other devices if that pen input had been okay. I think that what they need to do is they need to listen to their community, and they need to listen to what you guys are all saying and live streams like this, and think about how they can make sure their things are just so. I mean, personally as well, I think Bigme are always going to struggle because I think in English, the name Bigme doesn't translate all that well. You know, and it's like, we're going to talk about Penstar next, which is actually, this is actually Hanvon. It's the Western arm of Hanvon. And rather than call it Hanvon here in the UK and America and the West, they changed the name to Penstar. And I don't know if it was called Bigme, if it means something, or they thought it made a lot more sense in English. But Bigme, okay, is it like the greater you? It used to have the branding, you know, just for you is their tagline. Some of these things, they don't resonate in the West. And I think if they can, and one issue these Ian companies have is having a Western facing, seeming like a Western company. And that's an issue of trust. And one of the questions earlier on was, you know, could you do your banking on it? I mean, I would trust banking on it because it's an Android device, which is Google Play certified, and my banking details and my apps would be managed by the Google Play store. So that's why I would trust to do that on it. It needs to be able to do that. But if they were to, you know, maybe think about their branding, be a little bit more Western in their outlook, in the way they present themselves, maybe it might lead to stronger branding there. I like this idea here. What if they had an S Pen equivalent? That would be really cool. And does the ink color have the potential to look like a CMYK laser printer? The closest at the minute is the Remarkable Pro, but I don't think anything really has the potential to be just as good as a CMYK laser.